And so my name is Yifu. By trade, I'm a data analyst and then also an independent security researcher, where I focus majority on P2P networks and monitoring, like Tor, Bitcoin, and various other distributed network health and simulation and things like that. And so I'm just going to share some of my experiences with my stories about like hardware and software industry in regards with security and privacy. So in 2012, I had an opportunity to make my own computer chip, which is very interesting. An ASIC, an application-specific integrated circuit, a chip that only does one thing or a few things, but do it really, really well and efficiently. And it is with that opportunity, I was able to dive headfirst into how to make the industry of making a computer chip. And to, without getting super technical, but essentially you have to design your code logic, and then you hand this source code, more or less, to the company, the fabrication company, and they will print this chip for you. And now there's an inherent risk when it comes to making computer chips, as in like, the chip is not always going to work when it gets back, right? That is the inherent risk everybody takes when making a computer chip, when you transfer code logic to physical silicon. But the thing is, the more important question I feel you should be asking is that it's not the chip when you get it back, would it do what you wanted to do, but rather would it only do what you wanted to do, right? Because you're essentially handing off source code and you're expecting a piece, and there's no way to actually verify if it has been tampered with or not. And immediately at the time, I was like, oh my God, there must be backdoors and everything, right? And then in 2013, the Snowden leaks started to come out, and you realize, well, holy crap, there is backdoors and everything. and that really started my journey to investigate a little further down this, how do we actually get security when it comes to hardware? Because with this experience and making a chip, I realized everything I knew about software security is, gotten thrown out the window. Like no longer I could just say, hey, I could make sure my permission was set correctly, I can jail my kernel, and everything will be fine. But that is no longer the case. And so I did a little more research, and I realized that there's this thing called trusted computing, which is done by a bunch of computer companies in early 2000, HP, Intel, you name it, all the big brands. And they say, hey, their advertisement thing is, hey, we're allowing you to run code that could be remotely verified so you can check that it hasn't been tampered with. I thought, hey, this might be a solution to our long battle with security. How do we actually know what is going on with our code? But in fact, it's really a scam, because the same thing happens with the hardware, which is in order to use, I specifically explored this with Intel, in order to use Intel's trusted computing platform, you will have to give them your source code, and they give you a binary blob back, and that is actually the only way in all of these companies to operate. And the more I look into it, I realize that this is not a new concept of running verifiable code on a piece of hardware that's secure. And there's tons of paper written in the early 60s and 70s, and they talk about man and machine biosynthesis at that time, which was like amazing. But like I just think the power that be do not want this to happen, and that is the impression I got. And then as I look more into it, which leads us to our current situation, right? Which we have lost all I/O control. We have no idea what our applications are doing anymore on our phones. Like when an app asks for your contact, do you know if it's been sending it to somewhere else on the server? If it is it encrypted? We have no idea like what Skypes are doing, or any drivers that we install. We have very little control over our representation of our data footprint in the world of the internet, so to speak. But I believe not all is lost in this regard, because there is still one last bastion that we haven't really lost I/O control, and I feel that is the location of our routers. Right? Our router is the gateway that separates us from our private network, whether it be our devices, our home, and the rest of the internet. And the router really has access to all of your incoming and outgoing wireless data. And which leads us to the name of my talk, which is to man-in-the-middle attack your own router to figure out what your data actually looks like. And the simple example of man-in-the-middle attack I can describe is a phishing attack, right? Where you have a website that looks like the login page of Twitter or Facebook or whatever, but in fact it's not. And then when you put in your credentials, you get redirected to the website you're trying to visit, and you go about your day, but without actually realizing your credentials been stolen and bundled up with various other credentials and sold on some online, forums somewhere, right? And if you were to apply the same methodology to your own router, then you can answer a very interesting question about your own behavior, because I believe that people are not, like, surveillance is all about trying to tie an identity to a person. But I don't believe that everybody only has one identity. I believe that humans are sort of multifaceted and they have their own, facets of personality and identity. So you can really look at your own network traffic and try to figure out, be like, hey, how often or how much time do I spend looking at cat pictures on Imager? Or like, how long do I watch videos, or how long do I spend on Gmail? And because we have full control over your traffic data, you can do very interesting things like, filter around certain contents that you don't like. Be like, I don't like this website that's currently serving me all these ads from this CDN in Australia. Let me block that. Let me remove that from my data, and so on and so forth. The possibility is really limitless in this regard. But this is already a losing battle, and the reason why for this talk is really because in Asia and in Europe, this is no longer the case. Luckily in America, this hasn't happened yet. But what has happened over there is that they have these smart routers now, which is like an Android device. That is your router. Also, it has like a bunch of apps such as the Netflix or the Roku of Asia and Eastern Europe and whatever. And they have now complete control over the router. And what, a lot of the, like for instance, in China especially, as we all know, the Great Firewall that we all know and love to shake our heads at, and it will block certain traffic. It will, in fact, inject traffic to the sites that you're visiting that you don't even know of, and it will, view all your data. And another thing is, because this is a man-in-the-middle attack, all your SSL certificates are essentially useless in the regards of this. So it's not like you can actually have a secure connection through these routers and make sure your connection is okay. So, where was I? Okay, so and then like in the West side, in Google and Amazon, they're starting to make these smart routers now, and with the Google Project Fi and Amazon, like Amazon Echo even has the blank advertisement where it tells you like, hey, we're always listening, right? And I believe it's very important for us to realize the trade-offs that we're making, right? So I'm not saying that we should stop using Gmail or stop using Facebook, because these are the company who relies on getting data from you in order to better sell you things or advertisement to you or whatever the purpose that it may be, or surveillance or all these things. But every time we trade convenience for security, and I believe that in this particular case, because of the magnitude of trade-offs that we potentially will expose ourselves to, the attack vector is too wide. Because once you lose the gateway, you will lose way too much that I can't even imagine to think of all the possibilities that people can use this method of surveillance, or the method of censorship, or to control. And I feel that if we don't make sure that this doesn't happen, we will lose the fight on personal privacy and personal security forever, as if this were to happen in the US especially, because that war is already lost in Asia. And I have a little demo which shows you which essentially proxies a computer's internet connection. And then if you visit any website, it will show you all the stuff that it's currently you're viewing, all the images, all the CSS, and all that. It is, not, so I'm just gonna go through that. And I originally wanted to just tell the story and have some time for Q&A, because I don't really like the presentation format as much. I feel it's much better to just engage with the audience. So anyways, so we have Imager, right? Everybody's favorite image website. And if you were to load the website, on the other side, you'll see all the traffic that's currently being, pumped through of this website. And it's not isolated to just one website. You can essentially put this in between your own house, and this could run on your router, potentially like an OpenWRT. And that way you can go back and generate some reports and traffic data to your own, to better understand yourself on the internet as a person. Because I feel that the results might be very interesting. And if you know who you are online, then you can employ some of the OSN tactics that people talked about to reverse the effect Be like, hey, maybe I should, not post like this. Maybe you can have auto filters on things that you don't want to send out. That say, hey, if I talk about this on the email, alert me. Don't even send this email out to Gmail. And that because we as humans are not, we don't think like machines by default. But it's good to have this system of control, because now your own data, like in China with the example of their smart routers, your own data is now being used against you. But why not turn that into a powerful tool for yourself, which allows you to control your own digital life? And then you can decide what is right or what is wrong, what is for you and what isn't. And maybe you can create fake traffic that says, hey, I watch, like YouTube video for 2 hours a day, but in fact you don't. Right? These are all the possibilities you can employ for whatever purpose that suits you the best. Right? And you can and that's really what I'm here to talk about. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm going to throw something in there. I sort of started doing this because of mobile data sharing with like Android hotspot thing.
Mm-hmm.
When a friend killed all my data really quickly using Facebook, so I decided to, block Facebook. And subsequently decided to block Google as well, which was really interesting, just like seeing how long, Facebook's not a problem, but actually when you block yourself from Google, it's a bit of a struggle to see how long you get on without it. Something always comes up where it forces you. You get forced to go back and, okay, I need to unblock Google to do something. But that idea of, I suppose, like censoring yourself in a way. The Facebook thing is great because you just lose, everything's just gone. All the like buttons and everything's all gone. But another thing, on what you were saying about losing control of the routers, you could always bring it back another level. Like you could create boxes that would go between your devices and whatever router you have. Or people say router here.
Yeah. You understood.
Say router. A router is a thing for making something with wood.
It's that too. Oh no, yeah.
And so you can move you can put whatever between where you are and whatever gateway device you have going out there. So although that would create a potential for another device to be attacked.
Well, actually, I was actually just telling Sebastian earlier about how like the OpenWRT device that everybody loves, which is the TP-Link 703. A Chinese company named, I think, Hooto, H-O-O-T-O, actually created essentially the same Broadwell chip, and they added a cell phone charger onto it. So now you have this portable router that actually just has a battery that has like a 4,000 milliamp battery on it, which also I've checked, it runs OpenWRT. You can run it, right? So like now you have this portable device which you can carry, and it can act as the central gateway between you and the public Wi-Fi networks that you visit. Maybe you want to put Tor on it, and one of the things like what people suggest to have a dedicated device for Tor is that sometimes your traffic would, like the Tor would disconnect and then your traffic would just go straight through as opposed to being isolated. And this is why people recommend having like an OpenWRT Tor device to complement your actual physical hardware that you're using to access the internet. So like that's like the good thing about that is it's finally here, and that device is like $27 on Amazon. You can just buy it, which is great, right? Like we're getting there in terms of hardware.
I don't know. I think that a device for doing what you're talking about, manipulating yourself or monitoring your own usage is much more useful than I don't really never really understood the advantage of having a Tor box. I think you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot with that. With
an OpenWRT device, you can do all of that. If you want something more sophisticated, you can use pfSense, but it's really about the dragnet of your own traffic, right? So you can decide what gets filtered and what doesn't, and there's so much you can do with it. I don't know what the application specifically would be for each individual user, but
it would definitely be really good to have something that would show people. For example, somebody did this in I think at the CCC camp last year or this year, Just to show you how much your Android device, for example, is identifying you all the time, these constant pings to weather sites and stuff like that, and even, how many, something that would grab your GPS coordinates every time it's sent out there, just let you know like, how much your device is constantly sending personal identifiers out, that kind of thing.
I remember actually a very interesting slide on the on an OSN Snowden document is that like if you tell somebody your weather 5 times, I know what city you are in. Yeah, so like that's pretty crazy.
I think manning and milling yourself is also another interesting tactic for personal data ownership. So I experimented with this because I wanted to keep a backup of all my tweets by on my own server. So I man in the middle of my own Twitter access, so it would proxy it to my server as well as Twitter. So I think that's another. I think it's manning the middle of yourself is like cool for data ownership as well as like figuring out how you're being surveilled.
Right, exactly.
Like I'm a mobile dev, so I like do Android development, and like a tool like a lot of mobile devs use is a software package called Charles, which like it automatically proxies and like it looks at all your HTTP traffic. I mean, it can't undo the SSL unless you manually install some certificate to manually mill yourself. But I think this is like a software package that like is actually pretty easy to use if like people just want to download it.
Yeah, Charles is okay, but the thing about that is the key point here is to put it on the router level, and the way to get around that certificate is actually just to put it on the router server. So when you access 192.168, it will just install the certificate, and therefore it's a seamless experience, and that's something that's being done on that front. So yeah. Good. Oh, sorry.
Oh, one thing I was going to mention is you mentioned before about how in the UK and elsewhere and in Europe they're making routers not be able to you can't control them anymore. There's actually, I think it's Comcast now basically, I'm not sure if it's mandatory, but they strongly suggest that you take this router that they provide to you, which they can basically sniff traffic from, and it's strongly recommended.
It's also illegal to open them.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up.
No, totally. That's something I've been monitoring a lot because Comcast did this really odd deal with Qualcomm, maybe 4 months ago, to do some kind of embedded thingamajig, but it wasn't really clear what the hell it was. And so I just been looking like all the new boxes that we get. I've been monitoring the traffic coming off of these Comcast boxes because they're essentially black and they don't tell you what it does, and you're not allowed to open them or tamper them in any way, and you just have to run them.
They also charge you for running. They charge you per month.
Really, for running them?
Yeah.
I don't have Comcast, but I just.
They also do this with the modem. I think Comcast because they because you're borrowing our modem. Now we have to charge you an extra $5 a month for using a piece of hardware you can buy.
Which they value at $800. So you're charged $5 a month forever.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's crazy.
Any questions? All right, I guess that really is it then. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I guess that's it. So sad. Also, if you want to revisit any of the talks, they're available.
From this room.
Yeah, from this room, right? From this room, everything that was streamed, they have been separated out at different links, right? And available on the Internet Society's website, which I tweeted the link for that, and it's also in the Facebook invite, or you can just email me or somehow contact me to get it. But it's there if you want, which is great. I'm gonna have to watch it because I didn't get to see as much as I was running around. So anyway, just want to let you know. And I don't know what else to say. That's it. See you next year when we do it again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for deciding to still make it happen. I'm sorry, I don't know how we missed you.
I
went back to
sent an email and